Hello, entrepreneurs, designers, digital nomads, and business gurus. Welcome to Circle Live, our monthly talk show just for Circle members. I'm Sam Z, one of your community managers.
And I'm Sarah G, one of your other community managers. And we have our colleague Taylor managing the conversation in the chat. At the last Circle Live, we talked to Rachel Ralston and Jessica Petticord about preparing their client sites for holiday sales.
And today, we want to say thank you. Thank you for your business. Today's Circle Live, we've got two guests here to discuss how they thank their clients. And I don't know, send thank you notes. That was what my parents always told me. But I'm sure they'll have more to say. I don't know, did your parents make you send thank you notes?
Yeah. Yes, my parents always made me send thank you notes, and you had to do it within a reasonable time frame, or it was like embarrassing on like our family name.
What was a reasonable time frame?
Within a week, probably. And if I ever didn't do it, my grandma would text me, and she'd be like, "Did you receive your gift?" And I would be like, "Yes." And she's like, "That's so weird. I haven't gotten a note in the mail." And so yeah, now I make sure to acknowledge every gift I've ever received.
That's kind of fascinating to me because this shows the difference in our years, because when I was writing thank you notes, texting was not an option. Email wasn't even an option. So sending a thank you note, there was nobody who was checking in with me. What I'm curious about, though, with the thank you notes, and this I almost know the answer to this. Did you have like custom letterhead?
No.
Oh, okay. I
Were
would have
you expecting
expected.
to?
I would have expected to have like little Sarah Graysdorf,
I
young
had
entrepreneur letterhead.
I had like letters at like S for Sarah
S.
on
Okay.
them. And then I
Okay.
had another set where like someone gifted me like green stationery because that was my favorite color growing up, and like an S stamp. So like I could stamp on so people know that the letters are from me.
S. Nice.
Yeah, for Sarah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. This is embarrassing. I made my own cards. This was like early and probably predicting my later career at Squarespace, where I had a early software called Print Shop, pre-Photoshop, where you could create little greeting cards, and I made my own brand for myself with like on the back that was like a Hallmark stamp that came in the back, and you would print it out on our inkjet computer.
Wow.
And I would send it to people. People loved my thank you notes. I think they felt thanked.
Wow. You should have made a whole business around that. The greeting card industry is ginormous. We had a greeting card vendor at Circle Day this year, and I was chatting with her, and she said she's part of like a whole like industry group just for people who sell greeting cards. You could have been part of that.
Oh yeah, it's huge. It's huge. A lot of people write for it. But we want to know from you any experience in the greeting card industry, or also just more generally, do you send thank you notes? What are some thank you notes that you've sent in the past? What are your favorite ways of saying thank you to your customers, to your family, to anybody that you feel gratitude for? Because that's what today is about. Also, today's Circle Live is brought to you by the Circle Referral Payment Benefit, with eligibility expansion to Rhode Island, Iowa, Nevada, and now Kentucky. Even more Circle members are able to earn with this new expansion. You can earn $200 for referring a new annual commerce website, for $300 for a new annual digital product pro plan. You can also earn by referring new annual Acuity scheduling subscriptions and new annual email campaigns subscriptions. Fans of the CRPB say it is one of the easiest partner programs to sign up for. You can start earning commissions by talking to your clients about the Squarespace products that can help grow their business. To sign up for the Circle Referral Payment Benefits right now and start working towards the 4 subscription unlock threshold, visit the support link in the chat. And Taylor is going to share that chat right now. Speaking of chat, Sarah, who do we have with us today?
We have a lot of people in the chat today, all commenting. Can we get Lacey's comment on the screen?
Yeah, as soon as I find it.
Lacey's comment starts with haha. Well, I can read it. Lacey says, I used to make personalized stationery out of my home for friends as gifts and had this huge cutting board. I used to cut large quantities of paper. The thing weighed is that I don't know what the unit for paperweight is. Do
There
you?
we go.
50-pound sign.
50-pound sign, sure.
Or something crazy like that. But thank you notes were definitely expected. My mom's paper cutter was that's such a childhood memory for me. I don't know why cutting paper just felt like a very adult thing to do when I was growing up.
Because it was a sharp, dangerous object.
Yeah.
And they always told you not to touch it.
I used it a lot. Rosemary says that they made baklava. I would like to be on the receiving end of that. Time to send Rosemary a gift. And Christy says that she sends gifts to her website clients, which is pretty apt to today's conversation.
Makes a lot of sense, definitely. Well, a lot of great ways to thank people. Why don't we get started with this conversation about thanking? Let's bring on today's guests. How about it?
Would love that.
Cool. Kelsey Gilbert-Kreiling is the co-founder of Week of the Website, where she and her business partner, Mallory, have reimagined the web design process to be transparent, creative, joyful, and perhaps a little bit thankful as well. Kelsey, welcome to Circle Life.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I am grateful to be here.
Exactly like we rehearsed. And
Yeah,
Laura
perfect.
Oxler is the Senior Director of Sales at Suna.co, a Squarespace extensions partner and creative studio helping to make product marketing easier for everyone with an online store. Laura, welcome to Circle Life.
Thank you so much. Also grateful to be here.
So glad to have you both. Today's topic, as I mentioned, is thanks for your business. One of the reasons that I wanted to have you both in the same room together is that you both come from hospitality backgrounds. I think that's interesting. Hospitality is known for expressing gratitude. You know, there's the mint on the pillow, there's drinks on the house. Many, many symbols of businesses showing thanks come from hospitality. Laura, let's start with you. How did you start in hospitality, and what lessons did you bring from that experience to your current work?
Yeah, thanks. So I have worked in retail restaurants, kind of serving customers or clients from, gosh, I don't know, maybe I was 14 or 15 or something when I got my first job. And I actually it was a part-time job when I was a teenager, and a founder of a chocolate shop hired me and really invested in some fantastic customer service training that, was actually kind of unheard of for especially some of my friends that were also working their kind of odd jobs. We closed down the shop and would really truly invest the time. So I think that investment in me, I didn't realize it until now as a leader myself, like looking back in that's not always around. People don't carve out time for that. So I think that learning how to mean it when you say thanks for your business from a small business perspective has helped me create our kind of client-facing programs at Suna to use the threads of that in every single thing that we do. It's going to look a little different. It can't always be, oh, I'm going to give them, I know that their child loves chocolate milk, so I'm going to bring them an extra chocolate milk or something. At scale, it looks a lot different, but the thread is there of really meaning it when we share gratitude with our clients and actually meaning it when we say thank you for your business.
I love that. Really meaning it. And Kelsey, you also have a hospitality background. What was your background? What was something that you learned in that experience that you bring to your work now?
Yeah, I had kind of an interesting journey through hospitality to my digital career. And while I was going to school for design, I started working at a restaurant as a host. And so ended up working with this really fantastic for a mid-range restaurant downtown Chicago. And he still works in the hospitality space. His name's Avi Rathnakumar, and he was just a great manager. I think one of the most memorable things that he ever did was whenever someone would leave to go to a new job, next responsibilities, next restaurant, whatever, he would host he would have a champagne toast to that person leaving on the beginning of their last shift. And I felt like that humility and gratitude for whatever that team member had brought to the table was something that I've always tried to then like infuse in my own work. I haven't always been a boss, haven't always been the boss, but I always remembered like how that made me feel was that no matter what I did next, that person was going to be in support of my growth and development as an individual. And I think because we do the work of building websites for clients and for small businesses, it's really fun to send them off with a similar, like, we don't champagne toast all the time because we would not be able to get our work done. But it trying to like infuse that sense of gratitude into the way that we send our clients off has always been really fun.
We should be doing more champagne toasts. I don't think we do
Agreed.
nearly enough of them.
Yeah, arguably, yes, we definitely
Right?
should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that we want people to leave, but let's find more reasons for champagne
More
toasts.
reasons to celebrate. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, these are both great. And just to reiterate the takeaways here, really learning how to mean it, and also showing gratitude with gestures like a champagne toast, and rituals like when someone leaves, it's not goodbye, it's sharing a gratitude. Sarah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, what I love too about the champagne story in particular is that like showing gratitude is like built in, like that like ritualistic aspect of it, like it. And I think that that's something that like then infuses to the rest of your culture when you like make a point to celebrate people in that way. Then I think people start to look for other ways to do that. At least I feel like that's how it works on our team when you have like values and like pre-made decisions to prioritize things like hospitality, then other people look for ways to like fit them into the rest of practice.
100%. And I think the next question is yours to ask.
Yes.
If you want it.
I do. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to start with you, Kelsey. Something that we talked a little bit about before the show was how hospitality can feel really like great and fuzzy and warm, but at the end of the day, someone's paying for that champagne, and maybe it's nice champagne, so they're paying a lot. How do you think about the return on investment for something like hospitality or like showing gratitude for clients?
Yeah, I think it's so like intangible, because yes, there's definitely moments where we can look back and say, oh, we took that extra step to make an impact on that client, and then they turn around and booked another project with us. But I think like in the web design world, people don't build that many websites over the course of their lifetime. And so what I think that comes down to is like, what's their memory of the experience of working with you? Will they share that positivity or the positive experience that they had with someone else in their world who might need it? But I also think like gratitude is recognition, right? It's recognition of something good. And anytime you have more recognition of what you're accomplishing as an individual or as a part of a team, I think that helps you deepen your own like positive experience doing work. And I think gratitude is one of those things that like it feels really good to give, it feels really good to receive. And so when you think about, on like the micro level, yes, if you send your clients off after a project with like a much more positive experience, they're likely to tell people about it. But it also kind of feeds like the goodness of you working. So for example, like when we finish projects, we send a note to our client. The team that worked on their projects always given the opportunity to like add some, some information to that note to make it feel more personalized. And then we also send them a gift card for coffee, because our idea is like, we work with our clients over the course of 5 days. They spend a lot of time with us. So the card's actually like, think of us while you have your morning coffee. Like, we miss seeing you on the daily. And it just is a nice callback to remind them of like what we've done together. So that ROI, it's not not something that we can easily calculate to say like we've spent X amount on giving out coffees and notes, and it's turned into this much business. But I think it does like overall raise people's estimation of your work. And it also is a nice way that like when you wrap up a project, to leave them not with the feeling of like finishing those last details and their last changes, but more like the feeling of gratitude that they receive from your team. And that just like helps really cap things off nicely.
I love that so much. And I feel like it ties back to that original comment of like when this is something that we do as a ritual, it just like kind of infuses into the culture of the team. I heard a story recently about a team that like was trying to similarly like calculate the return on investment of things like this. And they were like, if I go and send like 3 pizzas to an influencer, like I don't know that that influencer is like going to turn around and post on social media about how great our product is, but like they're probably going to tell someone that we went and, sent them 3 pizzas. And like just the kind of like creating a story, like a narrative that ultimately ties people back to your brand, regardless of the return on investment. Like, that there's going to be something. And I feel like when that's just part of who your company is, like you develop a reputation, and that really can only help you. Yeah. Laura, anything to add on that when you think about like return on investment of things like this?
Yeah, I mean, I want to be one of Kelsey's clients and get these. I mean, what you're going to remember those thoughtful gifts.
Totally.
They have an incredible website that's their baby and their vision, but then they also get these amazing reminders, and it's people remember the little things. And I'm a really big believer in a little bit of this, like all's well that ends well, of when you cap an experience, a client experience with something extra, it's so memorable, and it is hard to measure. But I think about when you think about returning on investment, it's when your clients return. To your point, Kelsey, sure. Yeah. Unless somebody's having launching a bunch of companies with a bunch of websites, you do your job well, you're doing a one big, large project. At Suna, the way that our clients, we measure loyalty by them returning. So the return on investment is their loyalty. They can go anywhere. And that goes back to thanking for, being really honest with clients of thank you for your business. You have a ton of options where to take your business. We have a saying at Suna where we say clients are the heartbeat of Suna. We've kind of designed the product to where the clients they walk away with the content they love. So we've really actually tried to design our product to speak to that, and to be able to for clients to not have creative assets that they don't like. They really do love everything that they walk away with. And I'm a big believer in client satisfaction also starts with team satisfaction and employment satisfaction. And if your team isn't bought in that way, you're not going to have that same ROI. So your jobs are more fun when there's kind of cyclical gratitude. You like going to work when there's gratitude back and forth there. So I think this ROI question is so interesting because it's so many intangibles. But actually in an agency I used to work at, we would measure every single time a client used the word love. So the channel, it kind of turned into our culture. We called it client love, but we actually were really hard on ourselves about being like, well, did they actually use the word love? And that was something that we measured. We had a goal for it every month. So there are kind of some creative ways to measure it outside of kind of the standard loyalty stuff that we try to tap into.
I have a follow-up question to this because I know both of you run volume businesses. And maybe it's hard to measure the ROI, but one thing that I bet is really challenging with a volume business is showing gratitude to sometimes thousands of customers. I'll just leave this open here. How do you show gratitude to so many customers all at once?
For us, we don't have thousands, which is good because we can't at this current moment today, not a capacity that we're doing. But I think for us, we have had some more like volume projects that we've had to like reimagine. Okay, it's not feasible for us to send out, that level of cards. So what can we do to like make that gratitude feel very apparent, even if we're not sending literal mail? So one of the things that we're doing, and like this sort of is maybe like slightly self-promotional, but I have a book that came out this year on how to use Squarespace. We have a volume client right now that we're helping launch like many, many sites for them. So we actually are buying digital copies from the publisher and sharing a copy of the book with each client once we offboard them, because now they have like a guide to the website that they just built. And I think that that's like a way for us to still take that intention and bring it to the client. We also kind of try to approach our blog and social media from a position of gratitude, where we're not able to do like a full-on case study for each of our clients, but we can also say thank you to our clients for working with us by like amplifying their brand in our editorial and the things that we do to kind of market and promote our company. And so I think it's like, you can think about it in a different way. Is it's not always going to be a fit for everyone to send a thank you note, right? Maybe you're a new business, maybe you don't have the money to like be doing a lot of mail, or tangible items like that, but also thinking about how do you say thank you throughout the process? How do you infuse that in your client communications? And then how can you think about it a little bit differently to like imagine a way that they can feel that gratitude, even if it doesn't come in the mailbox?
Got it. Laura, anything to add? I mean, I think you have a few more clients perhaps to think about.
Yes. Yes. So I come from an agency background where I loved all the high touch stuff. It was like, let me listen for whatever weird candy my client likes, and I'm going to send it to them for the holidays or whatever it is. We have many thousands of clients on the Suna platform, so we love to surprise and delight in that way when we can. Just last week, we had a client that had an anniversary that comes into our Denver studio. Our manager bought them a cake. Those things matter. So it's like, those are the fun things that you talk about, right? Like the episode of The Bear where they're being able to deliver on these really hyper specific requests and just blow people's minds. So all of that is fun. That's the fun stuff. But then it's like, oh, hang on, what about the other like 15,000 clients? What are we going to do? So simply delivering on something that someone thought was impossible is a way that we can say thank you at scale. You can always send the email. We're sending one out, for ahead of Thanksgiving with a true gratitude message of, you are all the heartbeat of our business. But I think incorporating gratitude into every single thing that we build, of any kind of email flows that we scale, we can be all business, but you have to have that element in it of gratitude, in everything. Every single touch point should be a gift to your client or to your customer. What are they getting out of it? And it's a lens that I like to use when I write content too, being like, is this just like some self-promotional thing that doesn't make sense to anyone, only matters to me? Or is a client going to be able to walk away with a tasty nugget and apply it to their lives and then think, oh, wow, hey, I got that advice from Suna or Laura or whatever.
I have to say, I'm going through the Suna process right now. And I feel like one of the ways that you can inspire gratitude in your clients is to just be as communicative as possible throughout the process. And that's something that I'm like really loving, going through it and seeing like, this is the checklist, your package has arrived, like here's what's next, like this is scheduled. And it's just like, oh, thank God. Like I thought this was going to be really hard. And in fact, it is quite simple. And I know what's going to happen next. And I just remember feeling like the minute I saw that, I was like, oh, I'm so glad. I'm so grateful for that.
Oh, wow.
It's so nice.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That is so great to hear. And we try to be really intentional. Scaling is tough. You can't be everything for everyone. But if you do, I've told Sam, like my job is easy because Suna's co-founders' mission statement and mantra has clients in the heart of it. It's quality content for all. I'm like, oh, perfect. I can jump off that all day long and create trainings, and we thread that through everything we do. So I think also, zooming out and ensuring that at the very top line of your business, that is a part of it man, it makes somebody customer facing's job easy to be able to make decisions on how to make it right for a customer if there's a hiccup, or how to, really amplify and expand our clients who are using the product and are loving it.
What I love about a lot of these examples is that they don't have to be this I mean, I like what Laura said about doing something that feels impossible, but a lot of the things are write a note or express gratitude or even the gift card. These are things that can be set up ahead of time and kind of might feel bespoke for the person that's receiving them, but are actually systematized and organized by you. And so I just feel like it's so powerful that they're so scalable and that you can have one client and you can do this, but you can set yourself up to be able to do the same thing when you've grown to, 10, 20, 30 clients in a year. I feel like that's really powerful.
And the thing
Sarah?
I'm connecting to is, good. Yeah, no, please, you're more important than
Well, I was just going to say, I have a very actionable tip that I would like to share with everyone because it's very on top of mine. I think that if you really want to get in a practice of saying thank you to people in a meaningful way, the easiest thing you can do is buy stamps and just keep them on your desk. Because how often are you like, gosh, that was really nice? And then you're like, I should send them a note. And then you're like, I don't have notes and I don't have stamps and I don't know where to put this mail. So I'm not going to do it. We just bought the cutest stamps from USPS. And I have a bunch of other packaging stuff that's just sitting by my desk because it's having the tools you need sitting right there, it really makes the difference. I sent a birthday card that I was putting off yesterday because the stamps came in. I was excited to use them. So having the things you need nearby to say thank you in the way you want to thank people is really a helpful way to get it done.
I print out an entire stack of my custom branded thank you notes next to me that I still
So smart.
use, the same ones that I've been using since I was 11 years old. But that's an incredibly smart tip. And to infuse some gratitude into every step of this show. Thank you for sharing that actionable tip, Kelsey. If you haven't seen both, there's a lot of great commentary in the chat. Just people really excited about Kelsey's book and people talking about other gift ideas that they've been sharing. Yeah, there's so many good ideas to take away from this. I think and I think it is a wider conversation also just about what makes good customer service. How does a customer feel cared for? And I loved what Laura was saying about good communication is also sharing gratitude. Even if you don't say thank you, just making sure that you keep people in touch. You stay in touch with Kelsey throughout her SUNA process. That makes Kelsey feel good. And that's communication. I won't say that it's easy for everybody. Certainly something that I struggle with, but it is maybe slightly easier than waiting in line at the post office and getting stamps. So even that is something that you can do that is a low level tip on just thinking about the good communication through every step of the process. One thing about that I wanted to ask about just on a practical level is I'm thinking about my mechanic who I drop off my car. They are one of the things that is really remarkable about them is that they are great with communication. I've never had a mechanic before who will text me. Text me just, hey, this is what's happening. This is when you can come pick it up. Actually, don't come. It's like a texting conversation. And previously,
I love that for you.
It's great.
I love that for you.
It's really it's the kind of thing where just to round it out, when the final text that I will get after I've dropped off my car, I can tell it's an automated text, but it is a text that says, please rate us on Google, because that's what they want me to do. And because I've already received good communication previously, I'm every time more likely to answer that text and just take a couple of minutes to rate them on Google. Do either of you have something like that where, maybe you're expressing the gratitude at first, but then you explicitly at the end have something maybe that you're asking for, where it's rate us or share this content, share the link to my book? Is there something that you do explicitly where in the thank you or somewhere in the communication you are saying, hey, this is a small thing that you could do, would really appreciate it?
Oh, sure. I mean, I think Kelsey and I are both in the business of really wanting our clients to share their wins with us and share. You mentioned case studies, I think, earlier, and that is people listen to people. So we can say all we want, how great our business is and all of this, but I think one of the things that, if I think about some of the best partnerships I have with clients, it's when we have been really honest for also what we want to ask of them. And so I think that, there's always going to be, hey, if you loved your content, tag us. If you loved your experience, write a review or refer someone. And we always try to ensure that it's also going to be worth that client's time. What is it that we can be providing that can make that easier for them? So I think a lot of something I actually feel like I learned later in my career is that it's a-okay to be asking more of clients. Like, I sure provide services to clients, but that's partnership. So it's something that I used to be scared about, or I would, in earlier days of Suna, I'd be like, no, I don't want to, we want to make sure they have loved their experience first. And it's like, hang on, why am I putting fear in front of this? So it's something that I think is good business too, is being courageous enough to believe in your product, believe in the value it's providing to your clients, and also asking for a little bit of asking for something in return. And what happens? They say no. All right, moving on.
They ignore the text message or whatever. Kelsey, anything to add here? Anything that you will ask of your clients?
Well, I will say, like, we have not traditionally been very good at this. I think that it took us a really long time to get in the habit of asking for like reviews specifically. I think we're very comfortable asking for, like, if you had any feedback on the process or anything that you could see improved, like, please share that with us. But it really wasn't until a couple years ago that we even stuck like a Google reviews link in our final email. Really, mostly what we ask for is internal feedback that we then immediately turn around and share with our team, right? We have an entire Slack channel that, like, when those reviews come in, we share it wide. So I will say, like, don't be like me, be more like Laura and get comfortable asking for that, because I think I'm a pretty like enthusiastic person, but I am a little bit more timid about like asking for, I'm much more comfortable giving than asking in that scenario. So it's something that we're always trying to get better at. And it can be so valuable and also a gift. Cause like, if I was in your shoes, Sam, I would want to talk on the internet about how lovely that mechanic was. Like, anytime someone goes above and beyond for me, I love sharing. Feedback is a gift, Taylor. Thank you. we have feedback as a gift pins that we brought to Circle Day. But yeah, I mean, I think it is a good muscle to strengthen, because you may feel like you're asking from that client, but you're actually giving them the opportunity to tell you about the experience that they had, and that like bravery is generosity, I think, in that scenario.
Well said.
Yeah, I love why am I putting fear in front of this, Laura? That's like such a good line. I feel like, yeah, like putting yourself out there is an act of courage and bravery, as you're saying, Kelsey, and can be like so impactful when you get kind of out of our own way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that, in my mechanic example, I think that one of the reasons they do it is because everybody has a bad experience with the mechanic. Everybody has a bad mechanic story. I feel like many people have a bad website design story. Many people have a bad product photo shoot story. Maybe not as many as a mechanic, but at the very least, by sort of overcoming that fear, you're sort of helping that person to overcome their fear of working within this confine. I have something to request of our audience. As usual, we're going to have a Q&A, a little bit different today. We're going to move right into it, not just take a break. So if you have any questions, audience, that's to you, feel free to put those in the chat. We'll be checking those and asking our lovely guests here today. But while people are sort of building up to ask their own questions, I want to talk a little bit more about that fear, maybe, and maybe even connect it to this idea of feedback as a gift, because I think that's perhaps part of the reason that you have that mantra, Kelsey, is that like feedback is scary to solicit. Feedback is, and if you open up that line of communication, often not always, but often what comes back is not always 100% positive. So
Yeah.
what is around that fear and opening up that line of communication? What is where does maybe that fear come from? I'll just open it up.
Well, Kelsey, we're both in the creative biz.
It's true.
And what is more vulnerable than putting something out that you created out of nothing and then saying, tell me what you like and don't like about this? It is scary and vulnerable. And unless you have some thick skin and some experience, you asked me this question like 10 years ago, but it is totally scary because you might take things personally. Feedback can be unfair. It can be irrational and charged with emotion rather than maybe objectivity, which is of course what we want. But the thing about feedback is that it's a learned. People aren't born knowing how to give great feedback. I certainly wasn't. So it's just a vulnerable, especially in the creative world. I mean, you guys are standing up gorgeous websites from nothing, and I'll bet you've had some R1 feedback that's pretty tough.
Yes. We have like a very funny situation right now where we have a client launching and they've given very little feedback. And you'd think that the designers and project manager on this project are like over the moon because they didn't have to do that much. They just like built a site they were excited about, they thought looked good. The environment in that Slack channel is one of absolute trepidation of just like, you're kidding, right? Like you have to have feedback because that's the only way we know like that it's really landing. And I think genuinely this person just like isn't that picky and they really like the site, and the designer who's working on the site is in the chat right now, so she's done a great job. But it's hard to trust that, especially if you are in the mindset of like feedback is how we get better, feedback is how we learn, we solicit feedback because we want to get better. That is a part of the brand ethos. Like that's a part of how we work, and it is like a very integral part of how people build websites in general. And it really is a learned skill. It's like definitely something you have to get used to. But then I think it also just, oh, gosh, when you ask for something and someone provides it to you, what a great feeling when you're like, can you do this? And someone's like, sure, I'm on it. And it's done. You're like, that is great. That feels really nice. So if you reframe it in that way of like, this is a great opportunity for you to learn what your client needs and then execute at the point where, you know, they want it to be, that's such a great win for everybody. But it's hard, and it's practice, but also like it never goes away. There's still that fear, even if you've been doing it for, 10, 12 years.
I'm sure many can relate. I want to move to this question that we have in the chat from Maria, which is much specific question. How do you ask clients if they prefer chocolate or cookies, coffee or tea? Do they even drink alcohol, etc., so that we can tell them what would be a good gift for them? Any thoughts, Kelsey or Laura, about how to sort of pre-communicate the thank you gift?
Laura,
Sure.
I know you did a lot of gifting with your previous agency, so I'm curious how you all handled that.
I think I have two answers here. One is when back in my agency days, we would build really deep relationships with our clients. We were a full service digital marketing agency. So it was a lot of business talk, but also just personal. So we would really just listen for different preferences people would have and try to go, like we would try to go a little bit outside. And of course we were an agency, so we were trying to like out creative ourselves on these types of things. But we would really listen, and it would be like one of my clients, for instance, got like, I observed her, I think talking about The Honest Company or something. And I was like, oh, I'm going to note that she like likes that brand. But the other thing that we actually do at Suna, more so when we have new employees join, is have them fill out a survey. And I think it kind of depends on the business, but having them fill out a survey of what are your favorite, what are your favorite snacks or your favorite hobbies, like all of those things. So it could be something that if you're doing something at scale, when you're not maybe having as many kind of one-to-one conversations, you could send out a survey where you just are like, hey, we're looking to get to know you better. And then, sneak in some questions that are actually going to point to some gifting.
Great answer.
Yeah.
And
I
I see
think too,
someone
like-
saying in the
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, I just read in the chat of Sharon mentioning that getting food gifts is so specific and hating to waste. Like, I hear that. That's, I think everyone's probably gotten something where like, oh, all right, I get the gesture, it's good, but it might be a little off the mark. So I think that getting creative with the gifts that you send and maybe not always leaning toward the food is a really good idea. And I know there's tons of companies out there that have some cool stuff.
Yeah. And I think that intention, like, even if someone gets a gift that they don't love, especially if you're doing like group gifting, right? You're doing something for a large group of people. Very, very hard to do. We have a team member who's like our agency assistant. Her name's Samantha, and we sometimes jokingly call her our joy concierge because she gets tasked with figuring out like those fun things. And I think if you can figure out a way for whatever you're giving to have meaning and put aside the fact that it may not be perfect for everyone, but as long as it connects to your business and something you feel, like we sent out like Chicago Mix, like the popcorn that from Chicago last year. It's addictive. And that was the kind of thing that we're like, not everyone's going to like it, but also they could just re-gift it if that's okay. It's just a way to say like, hey, from Chicago. So I think you'll never be able to please everyone. You can definitely, if you have the chance, I love the idea of a survey. That's such a good idea. But yeah, don't, connect it to something, give it meaning. And then no matter what you send, they can find some joy in it.
Great answers. We have time for one more question. Sarah, do you want to read out this question from Rosemary?
Yeah, Rosemary says, if you want to start implementing seasonal gifts/cards, how far back do you go to past clients that you've worked with? Would it be strange to send a gift to a client if they haven't heard from you in years? Kelsey, do you want to start?
I would say if it's someone you really liked and you want to work with again, feel free to pull them from the archives. Otherwise, keep it to the folks you worked with in that calendar year. Just because otherwise, that list can get very long. But if it's someone that you have like some kind of regular conversation with or don't have some regular conversation with and want to bring into your world, I think that's a great way to spark that conversation again.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I think it's I've been dying to ask this question since this all kicked off with these thank you notes. What is it about a note? Like, what is it about thank you notes? Because to me, it's wow, how delightful someone was thinking about me, or they took a beat to put pen to paper, make a custom thing like Sam, have the stamps on your desk. Like, all of that is a lot of effort. So I think like if you have a client who you haven't heard from in years, like think about how they'll feel. They're going to get that, Rosemary, and say, oh my gosh, I haven't heard from them in years. How nice. So That is so delightful. And so I think it's a fantastic win back. And then of course there's business outcomes from that. I'm such a believer in this idea that everything that you provide to a client is a gift. You'll never see me send an email being like, hey, just checking in. It's always going to be, have you seen TikTok's new business newsletter? There is some crazy data that it points to what you were asking me about a while back. That's a gift to them. It's simple. It was not hard for me to send, but then it gives them, the gift of a resource. So I think sometimes, but I don't know. I'm talking a lot. What about it do we like about a thank you note?
I also think like mail these days is all bills or, I love getting like mail that's not my son is now obsessed with catalogs. He's 2 and he's really excited about them. So I guess that's good for him. But for me, it's usually like junk mail or bills. And anytime something cuts through that with like sheer joy, amazing, right? Like our tagline is no surprises, only delight. And it's because like surprises when you become an adult can so often be not good things that you just anytime you get a delight in the mix, that's a win. So I feel like opening mail that someone wrote to you or had sent to you, it's just like, oh, great. Not something I have to recycle.
No surprises, just delight is incredible. I wrote that down.
I'll send you a sticker.
I love that the two of you are getting to meet through this show. I think that you have
too.
so much to share, and unfortunately, this is me having to wrap up our conversation with the two of you. But it has been such a surprise and a delight to have both of you here. Great content for everyone. Squarespace. Really great to have you, Kelsey. So delighted to have you on the show today. It's been too long, and we will see you on the forum and otherwise.
Thank you so much for having me. This is just such a delightful way to move through the week, and I'm always grateful to hang out with Squarespace friends.
Definitely. And you get a lot of love in the chat for you, so go and check that out. Laura, great to have you as well. Great to meet you through this, and looking forward to keeping the conversation going about gratitude.
Thank you so much. Can we put $1 in the thank you jar?
I don't even
Really
know what that
appreciate
is. But sure, if anyone's got $1, I will happily take it. Great to have you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Sarah. That is all for today's show. Not to sound redundant, but thank you for joining us live. To join in the after party, simply visit Sessions on the left-hand sidebar or follow the link that Taylor is sharing now in the chat. Until next Circle Live, this is Sam Z.
And I'm Sarah G.
Reminding you that mobile view can take you anywhere.
Bye, everybody.